to you. You're listening to The Music Business Buddy with me, Johnny Amos, podcasting out of Birmingham in England. I am the author of the book, The Music Business for Music Creators, available in hardback, paperback and ebook format. I'm a music creator with credits on a variety of indie and major labels as a writer-producer. I'm also a senior lecturer in both music business and music creation. Wherever you are, whatever you do, consider yourself welcome to this podcast and to a part of the community around it. I'm here to try and educate and inspire music creators from all over the world in their quest to achieving their goals by gaining a greater understanding of the business of music. Okay, so in today's episode, I am talking to Chris Sharpe, who's the CEO of Musosoup. Now, I have been wanting to interview Chris for quite some time. If you know this podcast quite well, you'll know that I have talked about Musosoup as a platform before on a few occasions. If you've read my book, The Music Business for Music Creators, I won't be offended if you haven't, but maybe one day you will if you haven't. But if you have, then you'll know that I talk about Musosoup in a very, very passionate way. They are a true disruptor of the music industry in the most positive ways possible. For anybody that's not familiar with the platform, they effectively connect independent artists and labels with curators, with bloggers, with journalists. Now, in a digital age, it's very, very important that independent artists and labels are getting as much press coverage as possible. Now, I could go really deep on this, right? But I'll just summarize this. Natural language processing and web scraping are a huge part of how DSPs understand what artists do outside of their platforms. Now, in English, that means that if you have a good, sustainable web presence through blog sources, through internet radio, through various things that make a presence on the internet, that is scraped and informed and plays a part in systems of recommendation. So to simplify and boil that down even further, if you're not in blogs, it makes it a damn sight harder to get onto the right playlist and build the right visibility and traction for your streams. That's only one facet to it, but it's an interesting one. It's one that sits at the core of the interests of many independent music creators. So, Musosoup are kind of the answer to that question, which is why I like to talk about them quite a lot, because I think they're a really, really important platform. Now, Musosoup is owned by three different people: Mark Meredith, Peter Jackson, and Chris Sharpe. And Chris is the guy that's really so hands-on with Musosoup. He's so well respected and he's a thoroughly nice guy. So I wanted to interview him, talk to him about what Musosoup is all about and also their ideas for where they're headed in the future. So here we go. Chris, welcome to the Music Business Buddy. It's great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I appreciate you having me in.
Oh, no, not at all. You know, I'm a big advocate for what Musosoup is all about, Chris. It's in my book in multiple places. I've talked about it on this podcast on numerous occasions, and I will continue to do so. First question for you, Chris. So Musosoup is a true game changer in terms of affordable PR for independent artists and labels. So first off, you know, it must be said, congratulations for creating a platform that benefits so many people in so many ways. What was the initial thinking behind starting the platform?
In a nutshell, I started being a gig promoter in London. I worked at a place called the Finsbury for about 10 years, being the head booker there. I opened a music blog to try and get some more buzzier bands in front of me early for my bookings. And I started then trying to get a few of those basically premieres and stuff. So I ended up securing more single launches with my gigs because those gigs work better. So I was getting the odd band on Louder and War and that lot, and that's kind of my little way. And then afterwards, I realized that, hang on a minute, I'm probably quite good at PR here. So 8 years later, I've been doing PR for about 5 or 6 years, 8 years, you know, like as you do, as you build it up. And as I got bigger being a publicist and running a blog, I realized that the expectation of what higher level band that's on the rise wants is quite unrealistic. And I kind of lost faith in traditional PR. So in a sense, you know, like there's only so many times I can contact someone from Line of Best Fit or Clash magazine and someone says, can you do my campaign? And I was literally like, I'm not going to be able to get you on this magazine. Like, but other people obviously knew that would be taking their money. Maybe they could as well. You know what I mean? So I kind of lost faith. So I basically got what I call nagger's guilt, where I was literally like, I can't do this anymore. But ironically, my job was to nag people, but my blog was getting completely battered to death with about 400-500 emails a week at least. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't my blog's called Lost in Manor. It wasn't a big blog by any means. You know what I mean? So it's like the two just coming together and almost self-imploded. And Submit Hub turned up at the time as being like this sort of shining light, because I always emailed Jason from Submit Hub. I mean, hats off to him pioneering what he's done. He was the first like disruptor in the traditional PR sense. And I stole a head editor from Enemy magazine called Tim Hackey, who was really good. And he worked with me for about 3 years, and he was doing that on Submit Hub as well. And we were like, okay, we're really sustainable now. Do you know what I mean? But basically, he threw his toys out the cart at one point. Sorry if you hear that, Tim. And said, I'm done with the feedback model. Do you know what I mean? So he basically left, went off and did his own thing. And I was back to square one with my website. And then I got a kind of slap in the face from Squarespace going, you now asked 250 quid for the Squarespace bill. I almost quit the blog. And at the same time, which was the turning point where Musosoup sort of turned up, was I was running this festival at the Finsbury called Blogtober. So I basically teamed up with a different blog every single night of the week for a whole month. And I did it in advance where they all gave me their favorite lists, and I booked all the bands that they wanted. So the first couple I had Clash Magazine, Line of Best Fit, Louder and War, Indie Shuffle, Amazing Radio. I had everyone you could think of involved in this. But it was just such a mental booking thing to do. But the main story I got from everyone was getting too many emails, we can't pay any of our staff. That was the general vibe from all of the blogs. And it's exactly the same as me. So I spoke to a couple of my blogs that I was with. After a few beers, the sort of light bulb went off in my head, and I sort of went, I'm just going to ask for a couple of quid from now on for any band I like, whether it's a publicist or manager. I'm going to say, can you just donate 2 quid so I can pay for my Squarespace bill? We roughly calculated what I needed to sustainably keep the lights on. And funny enough, everybody said yes, that I liked their music. Do you know what I mean? Everyone said, that's not a problem. I totally get it. The only people that said no were the publicists, funny enough. Hilarious, right? And that's me, because we're the one getting paid and we don't want to let the money go. So that was like phase one of it. And then I went to phase two, and I was like, hang on a minute, I'm going to try and employ someone, or get a writer guaranteed on, so I could say, look, I can guarantee I'll get you 10 or 12 posts a month. I'll pay you 5 quid for each one. So I basically gave the option again, was kind of like, look, you can either, I'll find some way to share your music if I like it, or, I'll give you, if you can donate £5 for the writer and £2 towards my Squarespace bill, would that be okay? Everybody said yes. So I was at £7 at that point. And then I just said to my mates then that ran a couple of blogs, I said, if I build a platform to do this inside, will you come and join me? And they both said yes. And that was It's All Indie and Turtle Tempo at the time.
Wow.
So then after, cut a long story short, here we are now. We've got 400 blogs on the platform. Well, when I say blogs, I mean blog station, playlist, influencers.
Yeah.
So the main goal of the whole thing was to try and to put myself out of a job. How could I go from having 6 clients maximum of being a publicist feeling completely guilty of taking people's money in the end, to having 1,000 at least a month going through the platform. But we wanted to make sure that no one wasted any money, because we felt like, like I said, hats off to the other guys pioneering the platforms. We just felt that anybody could basically go there with the most rubbish recording, pay the money, and go, they just get some feedback saying, like 10 words. It's more of a proof of listen. And you could just waste people are wasting thousands of pounds on it. So we literally so the idea of the Musosoup was to copycat the process of me being a publicist. Do you know what I mean? Almost. So we wouldn't let anyone into the platform who is not ready to be hired by a publicist. That was a standard. So if I ever employed someone, they're ready to go onto a blog station or playlist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same principle now. If we feel there's something not right with their music, they're not coming through the door, we'll politely tell them not ready. Come back when you're ready. We're more than happy to listen to more recordings, but if they are ready, we'll let you into the platform, and then we present you to the curators that we're working with. And the idea of when we made the offer system was literally for the curators, because we didn't have what we call the marketplace at the moment, where artists can apply to blogs and stuff. We started with an offer system because we wanted it to be PR completely in reverse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because normally everybody's sort of emailing in mass emails, begging, can I have this? Can I have that? You know what I mean? And the curators, basically their inboxes are going absolutely bananas. So we basically wanted to do it so that the curator can approach whoever they wanted at their own pace and basically explain what they needed to work with to keep the lights on, if that was their ethos going forward. Now, of course, we still got people on there now to this day that still they're not interested in cash. They just hate looking at their inbox. So they basically just pick bands they like and they do the coverage for free still. Do you know what I mean? Or you've got someone that might say, can I have a contribution of £2 towards my Squarespace bill? And you've got another one. We make sure they always break down where their cash is going.
Yeah.
And if anyone does want to request any money, and they're only allowed to do it on creativity and marketing, we keep it on a basic, humble UK wage of between £10 to £15 an hour. So if a blog joins from a part of the country and they turn around and say, oh, I want 35 quid for my review, and we go, well, guys, this is the frame of what it works at. You know what I mean? Because like you can work in a supermarket for 10 quid. You know, so it's kind of like, if it's a pay-as-you-go method of like earning the cost of what a publicist would be, then we kind of like the blog's got to kind of move the needle and become more of an influential blog to justify why they're going to be asking for more money than just keeping the lights on, basically.
Yeah.
So we're only after a humble sustainability model, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and I think it's inspiring. I really do. I mean, the thing is, it's creating opportunities, not just for music creators, bands, DJs, singer-songwriters, but also on the flip side, there's a lot of emerging journalists, tastemakers, bloggers that are coming through that have really got their ear to the ground, that kind of go, do you know what? I've tried emailing people. I can't get a gig for love nor money, so I'm going to start my own thing, and they're there, and and the thing that separates what you do from what other competitors do, I think, is in regulation, and this has always been an issue, I think, and I know that Submit Hub have really tightened up over the years, especially on their playlisters, and tracking sort of farm streaming and trying to clamp down on all that kind of stuff. But you regulate what you do with thought, with love of music, and with years of experience. And I think that's a big thing. It must be hard to keep on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, we use a bunch of auditing tools, and there's sort of levels to it. We're still happy to work with a blog that's only been open 2 weeks if we see their writing's really good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you're a new age blogger nowadays and you open up, your brain naturally will go, right, what the tools am I going to use to make this work? You don't have to go in a traditional sense, but obviously we say to them, like, if you're going to come use a platform, you're not established, just come and use our platform to source reviews. There's plenty of bands that want to work with you. You need these guys. Come and source as much good music we've got for you. And then it's almost like, instead of us turning away and saying come back in a year, they can come and use our platform to find the bands because they're already there. Those artists are looking for coverage. Just come and make coverage on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we can obviously help give advice to the curators. We try and make sure that their blogs have set up properly. We give them advice on, navigation and how to make their blog easy to look around, how they should lay out their
That's good.
posts and all that kind. We're trying to mentor them a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I say, for the artists, and like the flip side of what you're mentioning there, there's just so many good artists coming through. It's amazing. The most buzziest thing for us is when you get an artist that comes on and they put we share in our little groups, like we get an artist that comes on and like they got like 10 likes on 10 people following them on Facebook or Instagram, and they are unbelievable. You just listen, all your hairs go up in your arm and you go, oh my God, because we get these before all of the managers get them. We get them before all of the labels get them. I mean, this is generally like the first stop before even all the blogs pick them up. When we see, same as Submit, I'm probably getting straight for the door at the beginning like that. It's amazing. But sorry, going back to your question, I'm going off on one, aren't I?
No, it's good. I love it. I love the way you went there.
Going back to your question, like, how do we regulate things? There's a bunch of like tools that are really good to use, and a lot of artists can actually use a lot of these tools as well. They don't cost a lot, and I highly recommend they do. So for Spotify, we use Spot on Track. That's a really good one.
Yeah, that's good.
That costs like $8 a month. So like if you're an artist, that's a no-brainer. There's another one called Artist Tools. I've never used that one, but I think it's similar. Submit Hub, hats off to Jason again. He's made the most amazing playlist bot checker. It's very, very accurate, and he's calling data. He's working with a lot of distributors as well to feed in more data. So I hope I got that information right. But even though like they're just someone at a different platform, we're using that bot checker on a regular basis. Any artist can use that for free as long as they're logged in. So that's something really recommended.
Okay.
For influencers and stuff, we use a program called Hype Auditor, which can basically crawl back through the whole entire history. I don't know how they do it, but it basically will give us all graphs, and we can sort of spot dodgy, inflation of followers and mass followers and things getting cold. We can see all that. So we basically, whenever an influencer or a TikToker joins, we have to go through all the reports and make sure that they're on point. So it's easy to spot that kind of stuff.
Okay.
There's another one called Social Blade. That's free for artists to use. Social Blade's
Okay.
good for influencers to check them out. Radios, I mean, I don't think anyone's really going rogue on the radio, are they? So that's kind of okay. And that's the other blogging ones. We use a bunch of AI tools to make sure that the AI is not popping up. AI is obviously the Wild West at the moment, but the detectors are getting pretty good now. The Grammarly one's very good. Grammarly one's probably one of the main key ones we use. Funny enough, though, which is ironic, if you use their paraphrasing tool, it will then mark it as AI.
Oh, really?
So if you use Grammarly Pro and then pop it back through the AI checker, it will get flagged as AI. That's quite hilarious.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah, and we use plagiarism as well, to check if copyright's going on.
Oh,
Did I say that right?
okay.
My build always tells me off. Plagiarism, plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
That's the one. he always tells me off that I get my English wrong.
That's right.
So anyway, yeah. So hopefully that gives artists some confidence that we're proper going through our curators and we're ongoing auditing on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah.
And if something's going wrong, it normally gets reported by the artist quite quickly because we've got report buttons. So if for any reason a blog's taken on a writer that's going a bit weird, it gets reported very quickly. Do you know what I mean? Which we then, and sometimes the blog's not even aware of it,
Right. Yeah, because it might be a freelance writer or whatever, and then you can
exactly. Or
you can react.
The new ones come on and they've said someone might just randomly source something from another blog when they run out of ideas, and then that gets picked up, and then obviously the issue will get solved and sorted out very quickly.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, of course, like anything, problems are always going to happen occasionally, but we're on the ball to fix it.
Yeah, clearly. Well, thank you for the transparency on that. I mean, I didn't necessarily want to ask you about all those tools because it feels like it's private information to ask.
No,
but
they're all there to use.
I really appreciate the transparency. Talking of algorithms and stuff, if we just combine these two things for a minute, Chris, because this is one of the most interesting aspects for me. Firstly, the algorithmic process of natural language processing and web scraping that informs Spotify, Apple, etc. on artist metadata, right? If we think about that, and then we also pair that with an independent artist's ability to create high-level copy for their press releases that highly influences a tastemaker's wording, let's say. These two factors, when used correctly, combine to allow artists and labels to effectively infiltrate how the DSPs start to see them, which in turn feeds how their music is recommended to new listeners. Now, this is why blogs and reviews are crucial to discovery, and this is a subject I talk about a lot to music creators because they often overlook it. So this means that what you have created is a highly, highly influential thing if used correctly. I know how smart you are, Chris. So I'm guessing you're like fully aware of what is happening there and the role, how influential the platform that you've created can be for people.
Yeah. I mean, we totally get that is part of it, but that wasn't really our intention in the first place. It kind of naturally comes along with that. Our main goal here was to basically support grassroots music because we felt that a lot of artists were getting hired by publicists when they're way too young. Do you know what I mean? Stick with me for the next 10 years and I'll, paying a fortune for a really expensive one because they've got a huge band on their books. Do you know what I mean? So our main goal was to just make the sustainability for artists at the beginning, grassroots, like they can afford to do PR, you know what I mean? Make the curators sustainable so they can keep going. And that was our main goal. It's all become about foundational PR for us, like I can put it in a holistic approach, you know what I mean? Because a lot of artists focus on just playlisting. A lot of them think, right, playlisting is the be all of end of it, but it's a very short bubble that can pop. You may get onto a massive playlist and then you go, oh my God, something's happening. And then nothing happens for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it won't correlate into people turning up to your gigs. So it's like the main sort of thing here for us is like say is that evergreen content that we would do. We wanted to go for evergreen content of just building a base, building your own story online. Like you say, you get to dictate the story of how you want to present yourself. And like this is what you were talking about with the DSP through the blogs.
Yeah.
People then will read your information. If it's a news post, kind of your wording would probably go out because it's not a review as such. So you can kind of get the way you want to talk about yourself out online. Industry will find this information. So that was the main goal of what we were aiming to do. But of course, in that process, naturally, through evergreen content being made, strategic playlisting. So we want genre-based playlists. We get all of our blogs to switch over to genre-based playlisting, whether they've got a big I mean, big playlist or not, we get them all to set up smaller genre-based playlists because hopefully they get treated as having true fans on them. You know what I mean? Some people might look at a small Spotify playlist and go, you know, this hasn't got 10,000 followers on it. This is no good. Do you know what I mean? But I'd rather have a playlist on our site which has got 100 people who are listening to it, that every time they go in the car, they go, I want to listen to obscure sound psychedelic playlist. Yeah. So if a band then gets on that and it's got real listeners, they might actually pay attention to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the artists that are actually in it, they might, you know, yeah.
Which is actually better for their growth on Spotify anyway, because it triggers the collaborative filtering, and it's rather than just, because I've noticed with a lot of artists, especially ones that have had big editorial support, and it feels great and there's a massive dopamine hit, but it all goes once those streams have gone and the follower rate hasn't gone up. So it's like something isn't working there. So
and they also say, don't they, that if you get on like, you know, New Music Friday, sometimes it's like, because you end up putting a mixed bag playlist, you end up getting skips.
Yes.
Then duffs your algorithm up.
Yes, huge skip rate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is more damaging. So like, yeah, we do have that issue sometimes where people turn around and go, you know, you've got a lot of your playlists are quite small, and we go, yeah, but it's not the point of them. You know what I mean? A lot of ours, we're trying to go for strategic small playlists, building up niche genres. It's going to take a long time to build them all up, but when they do get built up, we always say to our bloggers, start from the ground upwards, just stick to your genres and build them up.
Yeah,
because it's going to be better for you long run. It's going to be better for the artist long run. You know what I mean? That's what we're sort of going for, because we're not really onboarding giant playlisters like Submit Hub and Groover do, because what's the point in just copying their model? Because there's no way for them to earn money on our site, because they all do this feedback thing. We won't go for that because there's no feedback model on ours. They just hit no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, we're not attractive for the giant playlisters. So the playlist that we want to work with, again, going back to what you were talking about as the DSP thing, is like, evergreen content, strategic playlisting is what we want to go for. So they get posted inside the blog posts. That's what we're really encouraging. If you write about a psychedelic band, put all the psychedelic bands you found over the month in that blog post as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even with like an SEO tag, you know, check out all the other bands that we found via our website on our psychedelic playlist. You can check it out here. All these little silly little things that we encourage the bloggers to do, like you're saying, for the scraping and all this.
Oh yeah, it's all found under paradigmatic analysis.
All backlinks, all this sort of stuff. We're trying to get them all to do that stuff, but like I say, it all kind of ties into that question of what you asked, but we're trying to do another holistic approach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, we're not trying to be focused on just one thing. We're trying to give a new band a good structure to build upon, because a lot of the time they've only got to build it up to a certain extent themselves and invest in themselves, and then a manager will get note of this, or they can apply to a manager and they can turn around and say, look at all the stuff I've done, invested in myself. The manager will go, right, there's a really good base for me to build on here.
Yeah. And
then they will unlock all the keys to all the other things, like the booking agents, small labels, publishers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It helps build the story. It's interesting you were saying there about kind of talking to tastemakers about, you know, kind of going, right, find that niche, stay in that genre. It's funny because it's one of the things that I also say myself, but to music creators, you know, it could be, for example, that there's, I don't know, a metal band, and they're putting out music and it's really, really, really good, but it's just not connecting with their audience. And it's actually, you know, and you go, hang on, there are a couple of blogs that really, really specialize in what you're doing, that subgenre of metal that you're doing, but how are they going to know about you if you don't write up a press release and get it to them, right? And it's like, well, I don't know them. You don't need to know them. You got Musosoup, right? I mean, this is how I talk to people, Chris, because I believe so much in what you're doing. You know, it's great to see. What is the you talked about this a little bit, but the sort of process for selecting. You talked about regulating tastemakers, which is really, really great to hear. But what's your process for selecting them? Do you kind of see some that are kind of up and coming? You think, hey, they'd be great for us to align ourselves with, or do they come to you, or is it a bit of both?
It's a bit of both going. We go through waves. Like, this is the beginning of the year, so like January, there's probably a lot of bloggers out there going, oh, I just need to sort myself out this year. We've had a massive wave of people applying to be bloggers. We always get a good bunch joining every day, not every day, every week, sorry, trying to apply. But, you know, a lot of them are not suitable, you know. I meet every single one of them via a meeting, basically, just like we're doing now, you know, because every one that we kind of look in the eyes and go, right, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? This is what we're doing, and this is what we want to achieve on the platform. So just like saying, moving forward, we can talk to each other correctly. Do you know what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
no all the ice is broken. You know, and there's people coming from all different areas of the planet. You know, I have people chats a blogger from or a station from Peru. You know what I mean? Where they've had to have a
Wow.
translator, or I send them to one of my other bloggers because they can't understand what I'm talking about. But we try. You know what I mean? But that's one of our main things is like, if anyone applies, we want to meet them because we don't want anyone using a platform we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
That's the key. You know, because we know we can talk to an artist about it and say, look, we've met these guys, we know what's going on, you know, and we can address anything that we need to very quickly because we all know each other. And we've got a community online as well on the it's only a Facebook group, but there's like 800 odd bloggers in there all chatting to each other.
Right. That's useful.
But if we do go and hunt blogs out, now what you were saying before about, you know, a certain metal type of blog, we have a lot of blogs on our platform that, and I'll mainly talk about blogs here because I don't want to talk about playlists all day. If we talk about a blogger and you say a metal one, I've got no issue with onboarding a blog that covers a different range of rock types of music, ranging from rock to metal to all this stuff. But all we then turn around and say to them is, if you are going to support these different types of them, try and do an article where you group 3 of these artists together in the same one. We call them like roundup articles.
Right.
So we could say like, check out 3 black metal bands I've just found.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Even if it's a certain small little short review, because in that way we encourage the curators then to turn around and say, and the language is like, everybody can work together on the social media. Do you know what I mean? So like this, for example, this is like what we call an offer, which is kind of flying in hopefully in a promotional sense. So from the artist perspective, let's just say this is an £8 offer, all right? On the curator contacts the band. The free option is for them to go onto their black metal playlist. We're keeping the black metal vibe, right? So regardless, when this article gets made, if the artists are not in the budget or they're not interested in contributing, they can still go in the playlist that's going to go inside that article. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then once they get, like we would say, when you get up to a minimum of 3, you can stack them together. You know what I mean? So then that way, the language from the blogger is then kind of like, right, you can go on my playlist for free if you want. That's going to go in the article. Or I can write for you a little short intro review talking about you joining my black metal playlist. So it's kind of like an update article, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then what happens then also, so the artists then contribute like £5 each or something like that, which then would equal the blogger getting paid £15 for doing around about an hour's worth of work of creating and sharing between them. But then the artist then can chip in £3 each for marketing. So what happens then is, instead of them having £3, the other artist money combines, which then triples the budget that they've just put into the pot, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So then what happens then? They've got the options where the blogger can then go and spend some of that, a third of that, going doing a Facebook boost or something, targeting that article at a black metal audience, if that makes sense. So there's growth then on the article and the blog, hopefully.
Okay.
All the artists work together, tagged in, hopefully retweeting, sharing, all that kind of stuff. And then the rest of the money in the pot goes towards the ad for the playlist that's in the article itself. So if they do a number of these reviews like this over the month, then basically the playlist is permanently got ads running on it as well. So if you think from an artist's perspective, if they come and get in that article, hopefully they've got an advert on social media going off to a target audience of the genre they're in. They're tagged in with the bands of the same genre, and the playlist they're going into has got ads on it as well. That's like the ideal, best, perfect scenario. But it doesn't always work like that, because some of the bloggers don't know how to run ads and they're scared to death of them.
Right. Fair enough.
But we're doing our best to try and convince them and train them how to do this.
Well, good for you. Good for you for stepping in and trying to educate on that, Chris. If it sounds like I'm kind of giggling to myself as you're talking, there is a reason for it, right? And it's not because I'm being rude. It's because I've done so much research over the last two years or so on systems of recommendation, particularly on sort of Spotify and how the algorithm suggests new music and how that's also changing over the next, we're not changing massively according to my research, but certainly how it works, right, and how music is recommended. And one of the many things that feeds it is grouping of artists on in terms of how text is associated with one another's. So, for example, people say to me, "Oh, well, what's the point in getting played on an internet radio station? Because it might not be there's anyone listening." And I'm going, it doesn't matter if there's no one listening. What matters is that all those other bands on that playlist and the producer and the DJ and whatever else they've written about is all getting grouped together and being used inside of cultural vectors and top terms and things that trend, which
Exactly. On a
feeds
list, here's my
visibility.
playlist of all those bands. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
exactly.
it's like when you're talking about these things, I'm like looking at how that's fed and going, wow, this all makes like perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so future proof.
We've really used I don't run my blog anymore, my Lost the Manor one, because I don't have time. I've handed it over
Do
to a
you
bunch of
not?
writers. No, no,
Okay.
I haven't got time.
Yeah,
Plus,
I
also,
guess.
I don't want to earn money from it because it's not. I'm running the platform. I'd
Yeah.
rather let some writers earn the money from it, and they just basically run it between themselves. But any concept we have, we guinea pig my blog through it basically, and
Ah,
we've literally tested that what we call the roundup article. What I just talked about then, we've tested it and it 100% works.
wow.
So we run 3 playlists. Everybody that joins that we've never worked with before, we give them a really good low contribution, sustainable offer for the keep the blog running. And then it's obviously very easy for 2 people to work together. They get the snippet for their press pack, little review. They go into the playlist if they don't, if they don't have the budget, but we still like them, so we'll still support it. But it's 100% work. It's like the ads on the playlists have brought up natural listeners, and I think the rock one's sitting at around about 7,000
Really?
saves or followers on it, but that's all done purely through
Wow.
ads in the right direction of the audience. So we haven't once said to the blogs, to the artist, we'll only put you in our playlist if you follow it. We've never asked that. We've literally just done it all through the method of the contribution for the writing and the marketing together with the artists, and done exactly what I just said, basically what I explained a minute ago, and it 100% worked. And then we do little interviews with them afterwards sometimes as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of
You know
follow
what I mean?
things up and
So we can work with them again like a month later to keep it going. But yeah, it definitely works, 100%.
wow. I,
I didn't really think about what you were saying then. That does make sense. Again, tying it in with that DSP thing,
mm.
where if you've mentioned 3 genre-based bands together or up to 5, that probably scrapes so much better than just one on its own.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It just it what it does, it just feeds data that people want to, like Spotify, YouTube, for example, is another. They use NLP but use it differently. But I mean, they don't want, bands and artists that are massive on their platform and unheard of anywhere else. So one of the ways that they negate that risk is through web scraping. It makes perfect sense. But the ways
Mm,
in which they web scrape fall in line perfectly with how you are doing those kind of roundup articles, especially on the ad side of it as well, and how kind of the sort of microeconomics of people pushing together to support something. I mean, this is how scenes are built, Chris. I mean, this
mm.
it's exciting,
Well,
man.
it's just hope. It's like the same scenario as a gig, isn't it? You
Yeah.
hope that you're on a lineup with the same bands, and their fans become friends of their fans, and hopefully a couple of those turn up to that gig. So that's the idea of the roundup article. It's the same, isn't it? You send out 5 bands together on the same article, hoping that one person that knows shared that one has seen that one will check that out while they're seeing their friend's band on that article when they read it from the social media. Hopefully they'll go, oh, that one was good, and I'll add that to my playlist on Spotify, and I'll go and listen to that while I'm driving the car or doing the hoovering.
Well, yeah.
Like you hope, don't you? Like,
Yeah,
it's just
that's the and what I mean, going to looking at music creators, those that would kind of use your platform. Now, of course, there's certain qualities, isn't there, that we expect to see in emerging artists, and we there's such an expectation on so many music creators these days to be so well versed in so many areas, and to a certain extent it feels unfair, but then at other times it's like, well, you do need to have a press release and you do need to have good quality pictures because tastemakers can't really work with you without that. What kind of qualities do you look to see in emerging music creators, particularly recording artists?
to be honest, it is two different levels to it. You have people that apply on our site that are just so out there, not ready.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we've got an application process at the beginning where they can literally just drop us an MP3, you know what I mean, and then we can have a listen. You kind of like even at the recording level stage, you can see that someone has not got their Facebook or set up yet. They've not got their Instagram set up yet, and they use an MP3 instead of dropping us a SoundCloud on private or something like this because it's
Right.
not released yet. And you can generally spot them a mile away quite quickly. Like, I know there's nothing wrong with a bedroom recording, because nowadays the artists can record themselves so well at home, especially a lot of the producers, like artists that don't need bands. But we're just looking to make sure that, like I said, going back to the point where we talked about saying if they're not ready to hired by a publicist, we're not going to let it through the door. So it's like you can just tell that recording quality, this, like, sometimes it's just the drum sound awful on a band. Do you know what I mean? Or the vocals. I know people can sing out of tune sometimes, and it's meant to sound that way, and they can get away with it, like in a garage rock song or something like that, quite lo-fi vibe. But when you have someone then that sings, trying to do it in an indie rock song, and they're trying to be really good, but they just can't sing.
Yeah.
Or like you get 2/3 of the, we're flicking through the track trying to figure out if we want to work with it or not on the platform, and you get to the chorus and they just go completely off key on one bit. And literally like, I'm really sorry, we feel like, we've enjoyed elements of it, but we're just not going to proceed with this one. And like, they're going to go and spend their money somewhere else. But what we find as well, which we're quite lucky for, is I think because we've already got like a higher fee to use us as a PR tool, which is obviously equivalent of not hiring a publicist, you're hiring us for 30 quid for the campaign to start off with. A lot of artists that have probably gone, and I don't think we're the first go-to one. So a lot of them probably would have gone and spent money on Groover and Submit Hub first, got their music rejected, and then they would come to us and then go, hang on a minute, I've got to pay X amount of money before I even start. They can still submit to us for free for us to listen and tell them if they're good enough or not to get in. But a lot of the people that have had their music rejected probably won't even apply on our site. So we've already got a certain criteria level higher coming in, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot. I've never thought that before.
Almost like an agency sort of level. So a lot of the bands that come into our system are pretty organized already. And the ones that, like, say, for example, if one joins and they haven't got a press release, we've made what we call a press release generator, where it can answer you. They fill out a bunch of questions, and then we've used an AI tool which will basically then summarize it into a press release for them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we've used that, but that works really well. So it's almost like a questionnaire. Like, who's involved in the band, what was the process in your recording, where did you record it from? Tell us something cool about your local scene you're in. It's got a bunch of stuff like this in it.
Wow.
But going back again to like you were saying about the bands that they feel organized or not with photos. If someone's got some really bad photos, and we literally say to them, look, I've got, occasionally I go and Google and go and Google brick wall, take a photo of an iPhone for a band shot. And, I use this tool. I don't know if I've emailed you before, but I use this tool called Loom. Which is free.
Okay.
Well, I'm on the pro version, but basically what it means is I can screen record with my head in the corner like a YouTube video. And so if someone joins and they're not set up correctly, I generally will feed back to them and go, look, guys, everything's nearly here, but you should go away and try and do one of the press shot, like something like this. It's really quick for you to do. Just get someone to come help you. Go and wander around the streets and find something similar to this, and I can direct them. And then they come back, or they go and spend their money somewhere else. But at least we tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have that Loom. The Loom tool is amazing for that. Because sometimes people submit their music's not distributed, so we want to make sure there's always a distribution date when someone applies. In the future, at least. Because otherwise all the creators start reporting it's broken because it's not on Spotify, basically.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We need that future release date, but you can submit 90 days early with a SoundCloud if you want for the same price. So you get massive campaign if you're
that's useful. Okay. Oh, that's that's very useful. So finally then, Chris, what does what does the future look like for Musosoup? What kind of plans have you got going forward, and how do you see it kind of, I mean, I see it making a much bigger impact globally. I can see sort of how that's going to happen, but what are your ideas going forward?
I mean, I guess the basis of it is to try and support, grassroots music. The whole entire show I mean, just based this on the UK, I guess, is like, venues shutting down. Living in London, you just see venues disappear every 5 minutes. I mean, and when I moved to Southend, which is just outside of London, it's like there is no music scene here whatsoever. Everyone only plays covers. It's ridiculous. Really? And the one good venue closed down. So it's like, I think that's the main thing, is to make sure that good music can get out there and be affordable. You know what I mean? Like, of course, you can still do it the DIY way for free if you want, but everyone's got ways to try and make it easier for each other in this day and age, whether what tools you can use. You know what I mean? So like, we're always going to try and keep this really affordable for people to use, making sure that the connection and the relationships that the artists can form with the curators is direct. So there's no one in the middle basically saying, if you don't pay me anymore, these connections are all gone for you, because these connections now with the bloggers and creators to artists are all direct. They're there to both of them to build upon with each other. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we want to keep doing. And obviously we started to, we got, hopefully get another member of staff on board soon, because sometimes we just sort of scratch our heads going, oh my God, what are we going to do today? We haven't got time to do this. You know what I mean? Because like it just gets ridiculous sometimes. But obviously that's a good problem to have, isn't it? You know, we've got a very exciting features coming out in March. I'm not really going to talk about that too much in case someone steals it. I'll tell you off camera if you want. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully, you know, we talked briefly about that industry idea I talked to you about.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. I mean,
We're well up for doing that, but that's a project in itself. So that's going to be something for next year, I think.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
No, sorry, not next year. I talked to you in before Christmas. It's something for this
Oh,
year.
okay. This year.
But
Okay, I
we
could do
need to
that.
get our new build feature out of the way first, because it's kind of colossal what we're doing at the moment. Yeah.
That's good,
But it,
because there's you are one of a pipeline filter, right, for the music industry, and there's a lot of A&Rs out there that want to, that are under immense pressure to find the next big
yeah.
artist, as they always have been, but very often they're going through you and you're meeting them first. That makes you very useful to them.
I mean, we'd love to have those relationships, because like it's no skin off our nose to literally tag a band and then say to an A&R, log in our site once a month and come and check out all the people we think you should take note of.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously, it's funny. It's like the same as anything. We've made it easy to get through to a blogger, but for us to get through to an A&R ourselves is still impossible.
Yeah, isn't that
Do you know
funny?
what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think that these people would want to talk to you and work together, but building partnerships also is very, very difficult, even from people like us. You know, some listen, some don't. You know,
I
and
mean,
then there's
and then
bureaucratic. What's the correct word? Bureaucratic
bureaucracy.
layers, bureaucracy layers you've got to
Yeah,
get through
yeah.
to get.
Well, yeah, because I mean, those same A&Rs that struggle to get replies from music supervisors. There's like all these chains of like,
Yeah,
you know,
I guess in this day and age as well, for them, it's a bit like the movie Moneyball, isn't it? Like this person's had this amount of views consistently on TikTok, this person's had this amount of plays on Spotify, and they've got all these algorithms they can look at and go, let's go and risk working with these guys,
yeah,
regardless of not like I saw them at a gig, I'm going to spend a fortune on them. I think the only person I've ever seen from my gig days that blew up was Ed Sheeran. You know, he played one of his first gigs in
oh,
London for me, where he was in his school uniform after school, but he was original.
really?
Yeah, yeah, he was original. Yeah, he used to play my acoustic nights.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
but he was pure original. You know what I mean? He wasn't copying anyone. You know what I mean? So
that's amazing.
that's why he blew up naturally the way he did when the right people caught him.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and
But
just grafted it. And what was that in Finsbury?
no, it was a place called the Edinburgh Cellars. I used to do it in Newington Green in acoustic nights.
Ah, okay,
Yeah, he worked really hard gigging around a lot of places. But yeah, we gave him one of his first ones. I think he's played about 50 gigs for me, I reckon, back in the day.
good
Yeah,
God, wow, that's.
he played all the time. Everyone loved him. Yeah,
Do you know what's really interesting is that if it's certain platforms like what you've got, right, would be making such a big thing out of that, and you would be like, which would be wrong, right? But like, that could be like a real poster boy for your stories. You know what I mean? I know you're not like that, Chris. You're a
but
man
that
of.
wasn't that was when we were running a different platform called
Yeah,
Music
I
Hall.
know, but that's not how a lot of people
But
would see it if that was them.
but again, I can't get through to him. It'd be impossible. If I saw him in the street, he'd come up to me and shake my hand and go, "Hey, how's it going, mate? It's been a while." But like, you can't get through to him, mate.
No,
It's not going to
no,
happen, is it?
but that's legacies right there. I mean, all those gigs, and I'm sure he's very grateful though for the opportunities that you created. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
I love that. Wow. But yeah, grassroots, man. It's always been about that. That's always where talent comes from. That's
exactly.
it's where scenes
Got to make it
start. It's
survive.
where movements start. You look at all the major conglomerates and all the things that they try and do is to tap into local culture and to tap into movements and scenes, and they have to start somewhere in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
So it goes
I was
right
actually
back to.
having the exactly same conversation with Pete, that one of the guys that owned the company with me, was like, whatever this trend that kicks off, and goes off, it's not something that's been mass produced by the major labels. It's generally a band right from the beginning, right at the bottom, that are amazing. They come up through the ranks, and then everybody tries to copy them as a trendsetter,
Yeah.
because it just a new music becomes buzzy, doesn't it? Again,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so it comes from the bottom in what we're dealing with in the level of bands. If one of those pops up, and again, that's the same with Ed Sheeran, right? He came from the bottom, he was original, and now everybody's copying him. But if otherwise it would all be listening to Blimmin' Radio 1 5 years ago, when it was all just commercial hard pop. At least they're trying, I guess, a bit now. But
Yeah, it's no, it's true. It's true. It has to. That's fascinating. I love that. Well, it's a good note to finish on. Chris, can I just say, you are such a top guy, man. And I love what you do with your platform. My hat's off to you, mate. It really is. And I
No,
congratulate you.
thank you for you for being you ambassador for us. You tell as many people as you can
Oh, and I'm
about
all,
us, with us actually not asking you to do any of it for us, so that we really
no, no,
appreciate.
no, no. It's all it's all non-biased. And yeah, no, it's well worth it, and it's well deserved. So yeah, good for you, mate. Well, there we go. You see, now one of the things that I like to do here, everybody, is to offer a level of transparency and honesty. So if I do endorse a company, I'm doing it for good reasons and for the right reasons. And that was very much the theme of today, was to talk about what Musosoup do. I boldly predict that they will help an awful lot of independent music creators, artists in particular, and also the next emerging generation of writers, journalists, bloggers, etc. It's very important that those two groups of people are connected through a centralized platform, and Musosoup do that. In fact, when it comes to blogs, they probably have an edge on Submit Hub and Groover, in my opinion. Where Submit Hub and Groover maybe have the edge is in playlist curation and powerful YouTubers. Musosoup, when it comes to blogs, they really are at the top of the tree. So I fully endorse what they do. I hope that you found that useful. Feel free, as always, to reach out to me with feedback, suggestions, anything you like. I want to be useful. I want to be resourceful. I will leave you alone for today. May the force be with you.
The music